cloud, 10 days in from the turning of the year. Today, I'd like to pick up on a couple of themes from yesterday's Q&A by turning to a short talk given by Dogen. It's a Dharma hall discourse that Dogen gave to his monks at the turning of the year in 1241, some 780 years ago. It's called The Advantage of New Year's. First, just a word about the tradition of a Dharma talk. This is not a lecture. The traditional word, Japanese teisho, literally means presentation of the shout, presenting the fact of who we truly are. I'm reminded of Vimilikirti, the enlightened layperson we spoke about yesterday, asked to give his view on how to enter the gate of the one and only. Vimilikirti sat in silence. It's said to be a thunderous silence, like a shout heard round the world. In that scene, he had the advantage of words being exhausted in the many explanations of the bodhisattvas who offered their response first. How do you enter the gate of not two? This non-dual world. The gate to this empty, infinite, unconditionally indivisible reality. This gate. The Zen tradition is rich with words coming from the sutras, Shakyamuni Buddha's teaching, the masters and the koans. But the tradition is clear. What is conveyed in Zen does not rely on words. You've probably heard the saying, words are like a finger pointing to the moon. It's been popularized. Actually, really see the moon and that finger, that pointing finger, is it. What a world. As Bodhidharma put it, this practice is beyond words and letters. Words are the menu. We are here to taste the feast. So, no need to listen with your discursive mind. No need to remember, and no worries if you don't understand. If something strikes you, just let that resound. So here's the text from Dogen. The advantage of New Year's. Today is the beginning of a new year and also a day with 3 mornings. I say 3 mornings because it is the beginning of the year, beginning of the month, and the beginning of the day. Here is a story. A monk asked Kyosei, is there Buddha Dharma at the beginning of the new year or not? Kyosei said, there is. The monk asked, what is the Buddha Dharma at the beginning of the new year? Kyosei said, New Year's Day begins with a blessing, and the 10,000 things are completely new. The monk said, thank you, teacher, for your answer. Kyosei said, this old monk today lost the advantage. A monk asked Sozen Shikan, is there Buddha Dharma at the beginning of the new year or not? Sozen said, there is not. The monk said, every year is a good year. Every day is a good day. Why isn't there Buddha Dharma in the beginning of the new year? Sozen said, old man Zhang drinks and old man Li gets drunk. The monk said, great elder, you are like a dragon's head and a snake's tail. Sozen said, this old monk today lost the advantage. The teacher Dogen said, this is Dogen writing, speaking. Both teachers say the same. This old monk today lost the advantage. Hearing such a story, many people say, these are good stories about teachers losing advantage in a dialogue. This mountain monk, that's Dogen, does not at all agree. Although Kyosei and Sozen speak of one loss, they do not yet see one gain. Suppose somebody were to ask me, Kosho, it's his familiar name, if there's Buddha Dharma at the beginning of the new year or not. I would say to them, there is. Suppose the monk responded, what is the Buddha Dharma at the beginning of the new year? This mountain monk would say to him, may each and every body, whether staying still or standing up, have 10,000 blessings. Suppose the monk said, in that case, in accordance with this saying, I will practice. This mountain monk would say to him or to her, I, Kosho, today have advantage after advantage. Now, please practice. Such a rich story. Let's see if we can just tease out a few threads. A lot there. So Dogen begins this New Year's discourse, this New Year's teisho, by talking about new beginnings. And then he tells a story. Two masters appear, two scenes. Kyosei, a successor of Seppo and a dharma sibling of Unmon. We spoke about Unmon yesterday. And the other one is Sozen Shikan, who is a disciple of Unmon. Each exchange, these short scenes, each one is presented as a dharma dialogue, sometimes called a dharma combat. To gain or lose the advantage signals which master most clearly presents the dharma, the reality, this awakening world. So we have some record of Kyosei's teaching from a couple of koans and from Dogen. And here are just two little vignettes. A monk came to Kyosei. Kyosei is now teaching. The monk said, "I want to study Zen. How can I enter the way?" Kyosei asked, "What is that sound outside the gate?" And then Kyosei answered the question in turn. "That is the sound of the raindrops. Enter there." It's actually raining here in Dallas today, turning to snow. Enter there. So this little scene is such a perfect mirror of Kyosei's own initial question at the beginning of his training. He goes to Master Gensha and says, "As a student entering this monastery, I ask you to point me on the way." The master says, "Do you hear that water flowing over the dam?" Kyosei responds, "I hear it." And Gensha says, "Enter there." The earnest question, asked over and over again. I want to know who I truly am. How can I enter the way? Just to ask is to put your feet on the path. Enter there. So let's look at Dogen's story, these 3 sections with a short conclusion. Here's the beginning again. A monk asked Kyosei, "Is there Buddha Dharma at the beginning of the new year or not?" Kyosei said, "There is." The monk asked, "What is the Buddha Dharma at the beginning of the year?" Kyosei said, "New Year's Day begins with a blessing and the 10,000 things are completely new." The monk says, "Thank you, teacher, for your answer." And then Kyosei, "This old monk today lost the advantage." Kyosei shows the Dharma without any doubt. There is. And then the New Year's blessing. The 10,000 things are completely new. It's a standard blessing. And it's true. Still, Kyosei acknowledges that the monk's natural response expresses the Dharma even more vividly. Thank you for your answer. Thank you. Just that. Enter there. Then comes this second scene. A monk asked Sozen, "Is there Buddha Dharma at the beginning of the year or not?" And Sozen says, "There is not." The monk says, "Every year is a good year. Every day is a good day." He's quoting one of Unmon's most famous teachings. And then the monk asks, "Why isn't there Buddha Dharma in the beginning of the new year?" And Sozen comes back with, "Old man Zhang drinks and old man Li gets drunk." Again, a quote from Unman. The monk says, "Great elder, you are like a dragon's head and a snake's tail." In other words, you start off strong. There is nothing new at all. But then you just fade into trading quotes. Sozen concedes, this old monk today lost the advantage. Actually, right there, he's showing the Dharma beautifully. So, what of these teachings from Unman? Every day is a good day. How is that possible? The world in Unman's time was no less troubled than ours. COVID-19, racism, authoritarianism, climate change, mass extinctions of species, millions of refugees, the human toll of hunger, homelessness, isolation. It's an endless list. Every day is a good day. This is Unman's answer when he puts the question to his assembly, his monks. Unman asks, well, he says, I'm not asking about the days leading up to the full moon. Tell me about the days after. Some translations say, I'm not asking about the days leading up to the 15th. Tell me about the days after. You know, tell me about this world, this everyday world, when you see who you truly are. When every trace of separation has fallen away. Or when you see that from the beginning, there just isn't any separation, it doesn't hold up. Yesterday, someone asked about love. Isn't that really what this practice comes down to? I think that might have been the question. And I mentioned this teaching from Ruben Habito just recently. He said, Zen is finding love everywhere, in all things. That's really it. Infinite love, original love. It's not something you have or withhold. It's who you are. On Christmas morning, there was that early news of the bombing in Nashville. It happens that Nashville is what I consider, I guess, my hometown. My brother and his spouse live there, still cousins. My parents, for years and years, that was where I went when I went home to visit. I've walked on that street. I know that scene so well that they showed where the RV exploded, and just, you know, it's a war scene. So it was Christmas, quiet, but a whole day to walk, sit, read, make a simple meal. It was just myself and my partner. Uh, and when I got that news, I was really, you know, for a moment, um, well, of course, disturbed, but also realizing, like, what's this day now going to be? And just sitting with that for a moment, what came up was to soak all of it in love. Nothing sweet, just love. And somehow that opened up into being able to really be there with all of that, and with a walk, and with sitting, with the day, with everyone. Then just a few days ago this week, already in this year, we saw this incited mob storming the Capitol, just bent on destruction. Those people scaling the wall, that's my leg. It's your leg. Breaking glass, desecrating offices, that is my body. This body. Every day is a good day. Breaks our hearts open. Nothing excluded. From the beginning, there is no boundary. This one body. Old man Zhang drinks, and old man Li gets drunk. It's a quote from Unman. The saying points to the incalculable interconnectedness, the uncompromising oneness of all beings. It also conveys the wondrous, instantaneous spreading of the dharma. Of course, drinking and getting drunk often happens in New Year's celebrations, just that. The flavor just comes forth without having to take a sip. Kyosei says, there is. Sozen says, there is not. There is no dharma at the beginning of the new year, separate from all dharma. No unique teaching, nothing to teach. You drink water, and my thirst is quenched. Actually, everything is contained in just one drinking. Having a cup of tea, that is transmission. That is the unhindered movement of the dharma throughout time and space, complete. and infinitely dynamic. One taste of tea. Maybe they had sake. This is a worthy setup. Then Dogen gives his response. People hearing these dialogues may say, these are good stories about teachers losing advantage. Dogen goes on. Although Kiyosei and Sozen speak of one loss, they do not yet see one gain. Ask me if there is Buddha Dharma at the beginning of the new year or not, and I will say there is. What is the Buddha Dharma at the beginning of the year? May each and everybody, whether staying still or standing up, have 10,000 blessings. This is the traditional New Year's greeting of Dogen's day. Just that. Then Dogen adds a coda. Suppose the monk said, in that case, in accordance with this saying, I will practice. Dogen, who calls himself this mountain monk, he would say, today I have advantage after advantage. Advantage after advantage. Now please practice. One loss, one gain. Abundant advantage. Dogen's there is just transcends having or not having, is or is not. One gain. It swallows everything, pervades everywhere. There is no possibility of loss as opposed to gain. Advantage after advantage is not advantage over disadvantage. It's the inexhaustible abundance of your own true nature. It's you, intimately you. Happy New Year. Happy new day. Happy new morning. Or maybe listening long, pain in the back or knee, ache in the heart. Enter there. Dogen's Chinese master, Tiantong Rujing, had a teaching that begins, withdraw now from the invisible pounding and weaving of your ingrained ideas. If you want to be rid of this invisible turmoil, you must just sit through it and let go of everything. Later, Rujing writes, wander into the center of the circle of wonder. The center of the circle of wonder. Right where you sit. So, in accordance with this saying, let us practice.